We move on too quickly, though. You did question Max saying that this war in Iraq was fought on false pretences. Yeah. Can I question that statement? Because quite clearly it was fought on false pretences. There were no weapons of mass destruction. It may not be to your credit now, but that is a fact.
I'm not saying that's not a fact. I'm not saying that when the invasion took place...
You accept it was fought on false pretences?
No, because false pretenses suggest that we were...
Suggests that we were conned?
No, it suggests you were misled, and you weren't, because the
Prime Minister... We were misled?
No.
We were misled.
You were not misled. You were not misled.
We were told there were weapons of mass destruction by our government, by you.
Can I answer this, David?
Yes, or answer it briefly if you would, and I'll come to man there. Yes, go on.
There's a whole... Tony Blair's the Prime Minister. He's sitting there. He's seen this intelligence, which has all been published. People can go and see why he made the decision that he did. And he's there in the context post-September the 11th, genuinely worried because of his record.
I'm not saying you deliberately lied.
Well, that is what false pretences says to me.
No, it's not. What it means is the premise
of
the war...
Is, by the way. Max is. Duplicity is lying.
OK, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just saying you were wrong. And actually, since at the time you fought very, very hard, we're at the BBC, to get the BBC to apologise, maybe you could apologise for just being wrong. Wrong.
Because, we disagree.
You were wrong.
We're wrong about the weapons of mass destruction.
Well, that's the key part. That was what you fought the war on.
It was about disarming Saddam Hussein and forcing him to face up to his obligations under United Nations law.
That wasn't why you fought the war.
Going right the way back to the first of many, many resolutions.
You fought the war because you said to the British public he had weapons of mass destruction, and he didn't.
All right,
and that's just wrong.
You just, Alastair Campbell, you said you supported David Miliband for the leadership of the Labour Party. Do you agree with him when he says, but if we'd known then what we know now, if we'd have known Saddam did not have weapons of mass destruction, there would have been no UN resolutions, no vote in the House of Commons, no war. Do you agree with him on that?
It would have, certainly, yeah, I do. But I don't accept... What I think that both Piers and Max are trying to say, even if they say they're not, is that we were essentially trying to mislead the British public.
Is that what you're saying, Max?
I'm absolutely sure of it. I'm sure of anything. I will bet my stocks that the Iraq War inquiry, whatever else it concludes, will conclude that Tony Blair gave private undertakings to George Bush about his willingness to support an American invasion of Iraq, and then produced, with your energetic assistance, a dossier which sexed up the intelligence in order to convince the British public.
You talk about that inquiry. There have been three inquiries into that already, and I've been cleared by every single one of them. And you can speculate as to what the Chilcot inquiry will say. I would prefer to let them continue to take their evidence, and then we'll see. But it's very, very easy for people to get on their high horses and say, well, if they'd have been there, they'd have made the right decision. Tony Blair was the guy, because John will know as having...
But it's very, very easy of you to sit here now. And as I say, I'm not accusing you of lying, or Tony Blair. I don't know whether you lied or not, but I've known you a long time, and I've always liked you, and you've never lied to me particularly.
Oh, yes, he has. He has.
Actually,
you accused him of lying.
He has lied to me, but never about anything as serious as this.
And you accused him of sacking you.
But I don't think
all sorts of things.
I don't think...
I hope I did.
I think it's kind of irrelevant to the point that I'm trying to argue here, which is simply this. You were wrong. Whether you meant to be or not, you were wrong.
We were wrong about the intelligence about weapons of mass destruction on which this decision was partly based. It wasn't just about WMD. It was the whole history of Saddam. It was the fact that you were dealing with a brutal dictator.
But you only got the resolution for war because of WMD.
There have been resolutions going way back.
Has this created a lack of trust? Did this create the lack of trust with Labour that led to the election result that you got? Or do you think it wasn't a factor in people's lives? They didn't trust you particularly and Tony Blair?
I think it would be impossible to think there wasn't certainly political damage, but just remember, just a minute though, Matt, we won an election after the Iraq War under Tony Blair, and including after the Hutton inquiry, and including after all the difficult circumstances of that. So I think and all I ask of people, all I say to people, is I do understand how people reached a different opinion. Piers and I used to argue about this literally on a daily basis, because he was then editor of the Daily Mirror, I was doing my job, I was trying to persuade him, I knew it was an impossible task. He was trying to persuade me we were making the biggest mistake of our lives. And he was doing it, I think, genuinely out of a belief that he sort of felt a strong duty to say that. And we were having those arguments. All I can say to you is I do understand how people reached a different opinion. But ultimately, please try to understand why Tony Blair reached a different opinion. And he ultimately is the guy who has to make that decision.
You understand, but don't apologise.
I'm not going to apologise because that would say I don't support what the government did, and I do support what the government did.
Susan Kramer.